Hi, my name is Neches Phelps and I'm with the SPED Homeschool Review Crew. Today I'm going to be reviewing for you Sonlight Level B, HBL, which is History, Bible, and Literature, as well as Science and Language Arts. Right, so we've been using this for about 6 weeks now, and I feel like I've got a really good grasp of it, and I feel like I can really tell you the advantages of using Sonlight and give you some strategies along the way. Right, so like I said, we've been using this for about 6 weeks now, but we're only on week 5. We got the 4-day-a-week program. You do have a choice between the 4-day-a-week or the 5-day-a-week, and so sometimes we move a little bit slowly, and that's okay. And what I liked about Sonlight is that they tell you in the intro materials that different families go slower, and that's okay. And so the expectation is that you use it the way you need to in order for it to work for your family. And I can tell you that I used a couple of different strategies at the beginning. I played with some different things to see how it was going to work. And some of the things that I thought were going to work didn't work as well as I thought that they would. And then I had to rethink and talk with some friends and just kind of figure out, okay, how am I going to do this? And then I rethought and I did some brainstorming and it's working fabulously. So let me tell you a little bit about that. Okay, so one of the things that I traditionally do with my kids is I have them, and this is what has worked in the past, and so I will sit in front of them in a chair, and then I have them sit opposite me in a chair, and then we'll go through a book and talk about the pictures, and then I read to them. And this time it didn't go so well. In fact, what worked out a lot better was when I had one kid on either side of me reading along with me. And so I might read this big paragraph, and then I might have them read this smaller one. And then I'd have my other child read the other smaller paragraph, and then I would take a turn. And so even though this is kind of a read aloud curriculum, so parent to child at this stage, for us, it worked a lot better when they were reading along with me. I will also say too, that if your child would maybe be a traditional 9th grader, but your child is working on a 5th grade level, do not be overwhelmed or scared or intimidated to buy the level that is developmentally appropriate for your child. This will go a lot easier, and this program has incredible depth. And so I wouldn't feel at all I wouldn't feel at all awkward about choosing the level that's developmentally appropriate for your child. Okay, so what I've been doing is I've been doing the science read aloud, the read aloud, and history together in one sitting with 2 of my kids. They are on 2 different levels, or rather they're 2 different ages, but I work with them on the same level. Like I said, this has incredible depth, and the topics that they're covering are appropriate, I would say, for any level. Okay, so far we've done some water, desert, volcanoes, mountains, the earth, the atmosphere, all of it I thought was appropriate for them. And as we work along in science, they have a little worksheet, and we've been doing that aloud. I have not been giving it to them to do independently, although you could. Another strategy that you could do, of course, is to have your child say the answers to you and you writing it down. So again, it's entirely up to you how you do it. But what we've been doing is we've been doing it as a read aloud, like I said, with one kid on either side of me. And we read the information, and then I'll ask them the questions. And we've just been moving along quite steadily like that. They've been enjoying science. And in fact, I asked them, which one do you want to do which do you want to do first every day? Do you want to do your reading, your history, or your science? And a lot of times science gets chosen first. They are loving it. Okay, so history, we have been doing a lot of ancient Egypt. That is the topic that we're currently on. And I have a little paper clip here to kind of show you. And again, I'm using the same strategy. I have one child on either side of me, and after we read history, after we read science, we usually choose history depending on which kid, and then I will read a little bit, and then I have them read a little bit from each part. And then the reading is short. Let me show you. So they're reading, and these are big words, right? These are big words for maybe a second grade level, but they're good words for them to learn how to read. Okay, so we also supplemented with Tut's Mummy, and it also includes A Child's History of the World. Now, these aren't all the history books that come with the program. These are just the ones that we've covered in the 6 weeks that we've been working. And like I said, so in this book here, A Child's History of the World, they chose different chapters for you to read to the kids, and we're on chapter 8, and I think maybe we read 3 chapters from this book. I'm not quite sure. And then this one, I think we're on about page 20. And again, sometimes you skip pages, but I love the illustrations. And here is Charlotte's Web. And again, one of the things on the intro material it said is that the schedule and the pages that they have for you, yes, it does. It does tell you, week 1, day 1, do this. Week 1, day 2, do this. But not all families go at the same speed. And so specifically in read alouds, some people tend to go quicker, some people tend to go slower. Some people tend to save their read alouds for maybe a vacation, summer vacation, or Christmas vacation, or what have you. And so they have that separated as well, just in case you're somebody who operates a little bit differently. And that's totally fine and acceptable. Right, so for us, we didn't start our read aloud week 1. I just wasn't sure how we were going to do that when I was trying to figure out these other books. And so I would encourage you to go as slow as you need to in order to get started. Right, and build a steady routine. I think part of successful homeschooling is just building that steady routine. And so my kids are enjoying Charlotte's Web. And so you can see we are almost done. And it comes with some great vocabulary words. It has comprehension questions. It's all really nice and very well done. And if your child was able to read along with you, you might even take turns reading paragraphs or pages, just again, whatever level your child is on. For us, it worked much better as a read aloud. All right, so I've been sitting down with my kids, and we would do the read aloud, the history, and the science together, and that would be just kind of one section. And then I would have the kids work together independently, and for that they did their on-level reader. And for this level, it starts with the beginner's Bible, and so I have one child reading one page and one child reading the other page while I'm just kind of in the background. Now, one of my kids is above level, he's older, and he knows all of these words. For him, it's more of a comprehension exercise. And because he's working with his little sister, he can help his little sister learn all of these words and read them aloud appropriately. Right, so, and I think that just what's really nice is that their first read aloud is the beginner's Bible. So they're really going through the entire Bible together. So that's a very just rich Bible study for them. And so when they're done, then I have some comprehension questions from Sonlight. And sometimes it might be just kind of a, what do you think? Or why do you think God did X, Y, Z? So it is truly a little Bible study and a great reading exercise for the little ones. Or big ones, depending on how old your kid is. Okay, the other one is the timeline. I have a kiddo who loves numbers. And so if you can see this, okay, so you can go through, and it has little stickers. All right, and so you can put your stickers down on the different pages. And it also encourages you to keep up with current events, and you can add any current event, like the death of Queen Elizabeth. You could add that here if you wanted. That would be a major event. All right, so this timeline is wonderfully put together. So I have them do that together. The other thing that I've been very impressed with as a former language arts teacher in the parochial system is the language arts. So let me show you one of these. This is the one that we're going to do this coming week. So it's going to start with copy work. I have my kids write it on handwriting paper. It just works better for them that way. So here's the copywork. It's taken from your reading usually. The next part is a copywork application. So this week, the kids are learning similes. And so it says write 2 sentences that contain similes. Each sentence should use the words like or as to compare 2 different things. And so they have already done an exercise using similes. I want to say it was in week 1 or week 2. So they're already kind of familiar with it. And then the next part, so the next day is parts of the story. So here they brainstorm on day 3. It's pick out a story you're familiar with and answer the questions below about the 4 parts of a story. And that's any story at all that they like. And then the next part is what's the story. So first you're kind of brainstorming, and then on day 4, you're kind of writing out a book report, so to speak. All right, so let me show you what that looks like. So now let me tell you why I love this. Okay, so I have my 2 kids who have a good age span between them. Okay, they're both working on this, and they both are in different stages of writing. One of them is still learning to capitalize and put a period at the end of a sentence, and then I have another child who knows all of that and knows their parts of speech, etc., and is really working on paragraphing. Okay, so what's nice is that I can do both. I can work with both kids on the same thing. So for example, as my child is writing her what she needs to do is write 2 sentences, we can work on capitalize that sentence, put a period at the end. We can work on those things at the same time. With my older child who knows these things, I can look at that and say, is that a good sentence? And then he can look at it and say, yes. Okay. And so then I might say, you know what, why don't you try to add a couple of adjectives, or why don't you try to include this in your sentence? Or take that out, put that in, let's indent that paragraph, let's do this or that. It's flexible enough so that I can work with both of them on 2 different levels in their writing. And so I was intimidated at first, but then when I started looking at how well this was put together, it's so nice. And it's so short. The assignment that they have for the day is so short and so precise, and it builds upon itself every day. And then, like I said, similes is something that they've done already. And so now I can say simile, and they may have an idea what I'm talking about, right? And so I loved it. I can tell you that we start working at about 10 o'clock, and we are done with Sonlight by 12. And the kids love that because then it gives us the afternoon to eat lunch and then go play at the park and get together with homeschooling friends and just have a blast. We went to the museum one day. We went to the zoo one day. We've been having all kinds of fun because Sonlight isn't taking us all day. All right, so I'll call it the second circle time that we do is I incorporate all of my kids, and we do we'll call it the Bible part of Sonlight. We listen to the CD, and so they have a Bible verse every week that you listen to. You can memorize it if you like. It goes into a memorization and praying for different peoples in the world. And it's, my kids are loving the CD. It's the Bible verse set to song. They sing along. My daughter has asked if she can bring some of her little toy instruments and she can play those along. You can make it as interactive as you want. There's nothing here that says bring in instruments or sing along. It's entirely up to you. Right, theology, my kids are loving this. The reading part is very short usually. In fact, it's usually just a spread that includes just 1 page of reading here. And so we do that with in our same circle time as we're reading or as we're listening to the Bible verse. And then I also include poetry, and they're loving all the pictures And this one, it's the Book of Animal Poetry. It's a National Geographic book. Now, in Sonlight included is lots of information about poetry. So if you want to go into stanzas and alliteration and verses and rhyming and everything that you want to know about poetry, it's in here. There's so much good information. Or if you just want to read the poem with your kids, you can do that too. Again, just make it work for you. Okay, so I will tell you, let me see, that this big section here, or this big binder, is the Sonlight binder. Okay, and it covers 36 weeks. I have it tabbed in the back because it has what I was talking about was the read aloud section, the separate read aloud section for Charlotte's Web and whatnot. If you go at a different speed, it has some different information here about science. It also has some developmental checklists, which I think is fabulous, especially for our kids. Now, this binder, I'll be honest, and they will tell you too, that you might not be wanting to carry this around. Are using this as your regular reference for your day. And so this right here is a week's worth of material, and you can take that out and put that someplace else. Okay, so I take it out and I put it in this binder here that I have working for me. So in this binder here, I have some different schedules that we use for different kids that I have. And then I have our Sonlight schedule in here. I have it tabbed. I have our Sonlight map in here. I have our Sonlight timeline figures in here. And this just works a lot better for me. That might help you too. Okay, so now on day 4 of every week is science experiment. And the science experiments are lovely. I am not a science person. I will absolutely be honest with that. But Sonlight has made science so easy. So like I said, my kids a lot of times will choose to do science first when we are doing our first little circle time. And they're just curious about all of those things, and they love it. And then we have our science experiment book and our science experiment kit. Everything that I have needed that they have listed, that they have said was going to be in here, was in here. It was easy to find. There's also a little shopping list that'll tell you what you need the following week. All of those things are easy to find, like at your grocery store. It's not a big deal. Like a cup of flour. I mean, it was not a big deal. The experiment book itself, also they are loving. This one right here, how do landforms and water relate? This is really cool. The kids build their own island. They're just kind of making the form of an island out of some salt dough that they make, and then they can color it in with marker. They can paint it. They can, and then you kind of drip water over it, and they can see how water affects their island. It was so easy. It's easy for me as a mom, and it's not overwhelming. I know science for a lot of us can be a little overwhelming. This really wasn't. And like I said, everything is very short. It's very easy. It's very easy for the kids to do. It's very easy for me to do. And it doesn't take all day. We were done. We're done every day in a few hours. And the kids love being done every day in a few hours. I think that's one of the favorite parts of this curriculum, is that they can get it done in a short amount of time, and they're learning. So I can tell you as a former school teacher that I love this curriculum. It has been just fun. It's really been fun seeing the kids learn and learning things that are maybe outside of their special interest. I know sometimes that can be hard with the group of kids that we work with. But because the lessons are so short, they know they're not going to be spending a lot of time, like hours or 45 minutes, learning about something that they don't want to learn about. They know that it's going to be, 5 minutes or however long it takes us to read that spread. I mean, that's really short. And so for a child with a short attention span, or a child who may not want to write, or a child who may not want to read and prefer that you read to them, this is a curriculum that could really work for them. Right? I hope that this has been informative for you. And then if you have any questions, you let us know in the comments. And I hope everybody has a great homeschool year.